Welcome to the Being Soul Confident podcast with me, your host, Nicola Tonsaga, the podcast where we are talking all things soul, where we're widening the conversation about what soul is so that you can trust it, live it, be it, so that you are being soul confident. Hello and welcome back to the Being Soul Confident podcast. And videocast actually, and it is absolutely super to have you with us today. Now, we have got an incredibly special episode today. It's just going to blow your mind, and that's all I'm going to say. I am going to introduce my very wonderful guest, kind of one of two guests actually, but we will chat about that in a short while. So my gorgeous guest today is Kirstie Lilith. She is a divine channel and an animal communicator. And I'm going to ask Kirstie to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about who she is and what she does. But I'm also going to tease you a little bit by saying that it's not actually Kirstie that we are going to chat to and interview today. But Kirstie, it's amazing to have you here, my love. Can you introduce who you are and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Thank you very much, Nick, for that introduction. It is absolutely amazing to be here today on this episode. Really, really excited for what is coming up. I work with both people and animals, and my aim is to align them to their true selves, to really bring that authentic voice in and really kind of align them to their soul mission of like why they're here, their divine purpose. And so I work with people and animals in various ways, one-to-ones, groups, settings, and I'm really, really passionate about what I do. And I am a divine channel, and I work very much with the ascended masters and goddesses who I bring through and channel as well. And yeah, I'm so grateful to be here today, but also to be here on Earth and to be able to do what I do and what I can bring forward. It's just amazing.
Yeah, and it's a real joy to have you here. I've known Kirstie for quite a long time now, and you know, when we look at the path that we walk, when we look at the training that we do, when we look at how we really connect with who we are and the work we do, and we really lean into that purpose and really surrender to the power that we have and what we're here to do. One of the things that I really recognize with Kirstie is the ability to actually do the work and to walk the path. You know, sometimes it's easy to think that we're walking the path, and it's easier to talk about walking the path. But one of the things that I've always greatly admired about Kirstie is her commitment to that path and actually walking it and really doing the work that it takes to walk that. So it's always a great privilege to work with you, to have you here, and I'm really excited for today. So today's interview, and it's a kind of an interview. It's, as you know, with the podcast, it's really a conversation, but there will be some questions that I ask people. And the person that we're going to actually be chatting with today about soul, about all things soul, about their perception and understanding of soul, is actually one of Kirstie's key dudes. It's kind of the main guy that she works with, the main guide that she works with, who she has such an amazingly wonderful vibrational resonance with, and she's able to bring him through with such power, with such potency, and with such tangibility. I'm not going to introduce him. I'm actually going to allow Kirstie to introduce him because she is the one that does the work with him. Kirstie, can you tell us who we're going to chat with, who I'm going to chat with today, who our listeners are going to listen to today, and also tell us a little bit about how you work with him?
Yeah, I'm very excited about this. When the idea came through and I posed it to him, he came through with a hell yes. So my main boy that I work with is Yeshua. Some of you may know him as Jesus. that he has worked with me for the last few years, and our connection has just got stronger and stronger. And this journey has been more about me than it has him, as in me actually owning him and accepting him and walking this path with him. And it hasn't been easy for me to stand in that, because he's been with me. I can't even remember when he started working with me, but it was a number of years ago. And but I kept it to myself. I wouldn't share who my main guide was, because of fear of judgment. Everybody knows who he is, and everybody has an opinion about him, whether it's a spiritual opinion, a religious opinion, or just any other opinion. Everybody knows. So I kept it to myself until in a spiritual show, I had to actually step forward through my guides kind of manipulated the situation where I was basically pinned into a corner of going that, are you going to own me or not? And I had to actually say in front of 100 odd people that my main guide is Jesus. And from stepping into that and owning that, that kind of changed everything in the dynamics between us. And it's a couple of years now that I've been channeling him in live demonstrations and going to that depth where I can bring him through more and more tangibly, more and more strongly. And our connection these days, I always say, is so entwined that I struggle to know where I end and he starts now. Our energy is so kind of connected and blended, and it's a beautiful space to be in with him.
Yeah, and it's really incredible to witness. So, for those of you, as you're listening or you're watching today, what I would also encourage you to do is to not just watch or to not just listen, but just to allow yourself to be aware of how you're feeling and the space around you. Because as Kirstie works and as she blends with Yeshua, very often there can be a really tangible presence that emanates from her. And obviously, when we work with anything spiritual, we are not contained to a specific location. So that energy moves through time and space. So if you are watching this, if you're listening to it, then there is a real potential to be touched by that energy. So allow yourself to be open to not just the words that you're hearing if you're listening via the podcast, or what you're watching if you're watching via the video, but really just allow yourself to be open to the energy, the feeling, the presence, the whole experience that you're part of as we move forward with this incredible episode today. So, Kirstie, I'm going to ask you if it feels right for you now to just allow yourself to prepare and to move into the state that you would like to move into. So Kirstie works with Yeshua and blends with him through a process of trance attunement. And as she settles her energy, I'm just going to speak a little bit softer so that I don't disturb you, but so that I can just help you to understand the process that Kirstie moves through. And what she does first of all is she just really settles her energy. She moves into a state of alignment, into a state of centering within herself. And as she moves into that altered state within herself, what happens is her brain patterns change. They move from a beta through an alpha into a slightly theta and sometimes a deep theta state. And what that does is that expands her consciousness. And it allows the consciousness that Yeshua is to actually blend and be more present with her, so that he is able to talk through her energy and allow his presence to emanate through Kirstie's physical being. And you can just see Kirstie now going into a much deeper state of being. And some of you may also be feeling the power build as Yeshua starts to blend. And I guess really become a little bit more present than Kirstie herself is.
Dearest brothers and sisters, it is with great joy that I come to you today to be able to talk with you, to be able to share my words with you all. And I thank you, dearest sister, for allowing this opportunity, for allowing me to be here.
Welcome, Yeshua. It is incredible to have you with us. It's incredible to witness your presence, as it always is when you work with my dear friend. And I'm sure that you know that the podcast is Being Soul Confident, and it's talking about and really sharing information and guidance about soul, and really about how we allow soul to be more fully present within this human experience. And if it's okay with you, that's really what I would love you to share with us today, your perceptions of soul, and also your perception of how we can allow its presence more fully within our physical experience.
Certainly. As most of you will be aware, the idea of the human experience is not just to experience being human in a physical body, but understanding that you are a human, living a human experience, as well as a divine being, that you have that divine connection, that soul connection, that connection to what some of you may refer to as source energy, that energy of all that is, that ultimate power, that ultimate consciousness. Everybody is connected to that. That aspect of you resides within all of you. That aspect of the divine, that aspect which you call soul energy. This resides within each and every one of you. And it is something that so many forget. As you enter into the physical experience, as you reside within your human physical aspect, it is easy to lose sight of the fact that you are part of so much bigger, that you are a part of so much greater, and you lose sight of that power that you have within you. And so many of you chosen to walk this path at this time, to fully remember who you are, to truly embody that aspect of soul, that aspect of the divine, and really bring that aspect to the fore, so you can live a combined, a blended life, and understand that you truly are a divine being having a human experience. It is not always easy, though, to remember this. It is very easy to get caught up in the everyday life, of the trials, the worries, of the stress, of the heaviness that sometimes being in a human body causes, and how that can impact you. And it's easy to forget that there is things outside of that, that there is a greater purpose, a higher level of consciousness. But those of you that are waking up to that and are already on that path of really walking in tandem with your divinity, with your soul, and learning to listen to the whispers, learning to listen to that guidance, and seeing yourself truly as something far greater than just your physical body, your physical life, your human existence. Being in the human body, living a human life, enables you to experience duality, experience life, experience love, experience hate, experience fear, joy, all aspects of emotions, all aspects of the physical reality. Why souls choose to come here on earth is for the experiential existence, for the experience of being in a body and being able to access that duality. Whereas when that soul energy, that divine energy, is part of source, is part of that wider aspect, there is not that tangibility of the experience. You know love. You know that you are all that is. You know that power. What being in a human body allows is the experience of it, the tangibility, being able to experience the entire spectrum of every emotion. This can sometimes get a little lost and a little bit confusing, and people, with their free will, have the ability to choose what path that they wish to be on. And sometimes free will is what guides people on their path. But you can also choose at any point during your life to align your free will with divine will, with that aspect of your soul, and really connecting in with that aspect that resides within you, but will also be as quiet or as loud as you allow it to be. You can connect with that soul aspect and allow it to lead your path, to allow your human experience to be able to transcend the physical limitations, to really expand your consciousness, to align yourself to that higher level of consciousness, and to experience fully that expansiveness that is soul, the limitless energy, consciousness that is soul, and to really be able to hold that energy within your physical body, within your life, and begin to lead from that aspect, from that place of knowing that you are everything. You are capable of everything and of anything, that there truly are no limits. And to show up in your day-to-day life with that knowing, that deep knowing that you are capable you have the power of choosing anything and choosing everything. It completely allows your life to turn around from living in a contracted, a fear-based life, a fear-based energy, and choosing from that point to then finally realizing and aligning yourself to that aspect of soul and knowing that you can choose from a limitless place, a place of pure love, of that higher consciousness, of knowing that anything is possible. And when you align yourself to that higher consciousness, you truly understand that there is no separation, that you are all connected to each other. All that aspect of soul comes from that same place, that same source. You're just residing in different containers, different physical vessels. This truly is an amazing time to be on Earth. For you to be able to be walking this path, and so many of you waking up to that understanding and that knowledge of that soul, of that divinity within you, and starting to really allow that to come forward and lead the way. Have you any questions, my dear?
I have, my friend. And just before I ask one, if that's okay, I just wanted to share with some of our watchers that they may have seen me smiling through a part of that. Because as you were talking about the duality of soul, or the duality of the experience, sorry, not the duality of soul, I was jotting down a question to ask you. And no sooner had I jotted down the question than you actually answered it. And I just think that when we work with, the expanse of consciousness that you are, that we really understand that there is no separation, because as soon as I was thinking something, you were able to just allow yourself to receive that energy and then answer it. So thank you. But a question I do have you, Yeshua, if that's okay for you, is I know from the experience that we have within life, from what you've talked about, we are able to experience all of our emotions, so that there is a real sense of tangibility and of understanding the full spectrum, I guess, of the human experience. But what is the benefit from soul's perspective? What is the benefit for soul of us experiencing the full gamut of all of the emotions as we live in this experience? I guess the question is, what is the benefit that we take back when we pass from this physical body back to that divine essence?
Thank you for that question. And yes, it is about soul collating information. All of soul is one aspect, one complete entity. And it then gets divided up as it goes, sections of it into an individual body. So that is best how I would describe it, an entire entity, and then pieces actually reside in individual human bodies. Each of them are what you would probably describe as like a computer memory bank. It is about collating the information. They are, as well as experiencing to the fullest while being in a physical body, they are also storing that information those memories to be able to take back to the whole, to be able to take back to that collective. And being in a physical existence allows you the opportunity of experiencing the entire spectrum of emotions, the entire spectrum of being. But it doesn't necessarily mean that each individual needs to experience the entire spectrum of love down to the entire spectrum of fear. It is not necessary for an individual that is, say, maybe on a higher level of consciousness to have to experience the lower vibrational energies. It can be experienced by watching, by observing others, but without taking on that aspect yourself. So each individual does not have to experience the level, the entire spectrum of vibration. An individual can choose to live from a place of love, to live from a higher paradigm, to live from that higher level of consciousness. And they can still experience duality, but it is experiencing through observing it in others, but with not absorbing it into your own experience.
Okay.
So the aspect of soul is about that experience in that duality. It's about the experiential aspect. What that does is when that comes back to the collective, all the information is shared. That aspect of soul that resides within you then goes back to that wider aspect of soul, and the experiences that that aspect has then get shared within the collective, within that collective consciousness, and that serves for soul to grow, to expand from all of that experience, all of that knowledge, because there is a big difference between the knowing and the tangibility of experiencing a situation. So that is why the aspect, the wide soul, the source, the universal energy chooses to experience as well as just being and just having that knowing. They choose to have that tangibility. And this is what these individual life forms, they allow that understanding, that knowledge, that collation of a lot of data, a lot of information that then serves for the greater good and allows it to then expand from that aspect. It all serves a greater purpose. It is just not, everything is not deleted, shall we say, at the end of each lifetime. It goes on to serve the collective in a wider, more expansive way.
Okay, thank you. What is the greater purpose then of soul? So soul is receiving all of this information from the human experiences that humans have, and all of that experience, that data, if you like, goes into the collective soul. What does it ultimately want to do with that? What's the ultimate purpose?
The ultimate purpose is essentially evolution. It is essentially expansion and seeing how it can be expanded even further. And this does not take place just on Earth. Earth is just one of the many planets that, because soul just exists, the divine just exists, that source energy. It isn't just for Earth. So as many of you will be aware, you have had numerous lifetimes, not just on this planet. You will have had memories or awareness or knowledge or understanding that you have lived on other planets. It is still the same principle, shall we say. It is still that understanding, that experiencing in different types of lifetimes, different experiences, different understandings and knowledge, and it then feeds. It's like an organism that then feeds itself and grows and expands from the data, from the information that it's able to absorb and experience, and truly to be able to understand itself more. So it is like a growing, living organism that desire is to know itself more, to know itself further from that experiential point of view, from that real tangible point of view. And all of this information that is collected from each individual being, whether they are on Earth living a human experience or whether they are on another planet living that experience, it all allows to serve for that truly understanding consciousness better, that understanding of all that is. Does this make sense how I'm explaining it to you?
It does. So essentially what you're saying is that the living energy that is soul is seeking to understand itself fully, to understand its own potential fully through the exploration of everything that every aspect of soul that incarnates through a physical or other being.
Exactly. I think you phrased it better than I did.
So and I find that absolutely fascinating, Yeshua. And I don't know whether, and I know you've talked about the fact that it's not just Earth, but there are other beings that also relay information, experiences back to the collective soul. But one of the things that I find fascinating from a human perspective is that I believe that part of our being is to actually know ourselves fully. And with knowing ourselves fully, we enable a greater freedom within who we are, which enables soul to actualize through us more freely and more fully. And so when you talk about the collective energy of soul and the fact that it really seeks to know itself fully, that's very aligned with human nature, which ultimately seeks to know itself fully, doesn't it?
Yes, that is correct. It's like the macro and the micro aspect of it, that yes, the human experience, the ultimate aim of that experience, particularly from a soul aspect, is to know itself, to be able to experience itself as its fullest, to truly allow that aspect of soul to really lead and to expand, to allow that fullness to come through for the human to be able to experience itself at its highest capacity and truly understand every aspect of being human and of being this particular human, because it's recognizing that human existence, that you have the physical body, you have the individual personality. You will not experience your life again in this particular form. You will experience other lifetimes, but not in the form that you are in at the moment, with that personality, with that aspect, with those qualities that you individually bring, and living to its fullest, to allow soul to expand to its fullest, is really embracing all of that human aspect and really understanding and knowing every aspect of yourself as this particular individual.
Okay, thank you. Something that was just coming to me as you were sharing that, Yeshua, was that, so from a human perspective, we have the ability to really experience and understand the full range of emotions, the full emotional spectrum. And I believe that that's part of our learning in this experience, because obviously sometimes emotions guide us. Sometimes we allow emotions to overwhelm us and take us away from, I suppose, the core of who we are. When we look at the beings that experience or that are part of soul from a different level of consciousness or in a different planet, their experiences obviously are different to the human experiences. Do they each have a particular element, I suppose, an element, a different level of tangibility, a different experience of tangibility that they bring? If we look at humans as perhaps bringing the emotional range to that collective of soul, are there specifics with other energetic beings that bring their own specific tangibilities based on who they are? So if we look at us as humans, based on, I don't know, star beings or galactic beings or other life forms in different realms. Sorry, I know that's a long question.
Yes. I gather the gist of what it is that you're saying. And yes, one of the key aspects which you have touched on about being human is that full spectrum of emotion, of being able to really experience the intensity of emotion throughout the entire spectrum. And yes, you touched on the positive aspects of this, and then also sometimes how that can be really overwhelming as well. But you are indeed correct, even though other beings, whether we're talking galactic beings, whether we're talking incarnated as, say, animals, but still on Earth, or animals in other realms, being on different planets, we will just touch on that. They still have the ability to be able to feel. They still have that emotion, but the majority of other beings do not have that expansive, wide range of emotions that humans have, which is what makes planet Earth such a very sought after planet for souls to choose to incarnate onto, because the experience of being on Earth has so much value and so much tangibility that you don't get, particularly on the other planets, that wide spectrum of the emotions that comes with being human. So on other planets, the advantage of those is that, like some planets, for example, they do not communicate via words. They communicate via vibration. They communicate via telepathy. So to be on a planet where you are experiencing this, that allows a different level of experience for the soul. It truly allows the soul to experience that collective energy, that expansive collective, that knowing, while that you are in an individual vessel, you are also still so connected to each other. And to be able to experience a lifetime where you can experience being in an individual as well as at the same time living in a collective. So a lot of the other planets where there is life form, this is one of the big takeaways, the big advantages, what is of how they can experience that. Also on other planets, there is that experience of technology, of how an expanded race, a higher consciousness of living on a much more ascended planet than the one Earth is currently right now, that to experience that level of technology combined with those spiritual gifts, that allows an expansiveness of soul in a different way to being on earth.
So I guess in some respects, if I understand you correctly, there's an aspect of really coming to earth that is really a bit of an experiment, because obviously within the human experience we also have the ego, and we have that very, very strong aspect of free will. But if I understand you correctly as well, and this is just my interpretation, obviously, Yeshua, that there is a real desire for lots of beings from other systems, other planets, other dimensions to actually have an experience on the earth in human form, because it is so vastly different than perhaps the experience that they might have in a different in a different experience, in a different dimension, in a different way, which I find interesting, because I think one of the things that is so challenging about Earth is that sometimes so many of us wish that we weren't here. I think sometimes we wish that we were somewhere else. We will wish that we were, back on Pleiades or Sirius or kind of, and yet there's a real desire, from what I understand, for beings to have an earthly experience.
Yes, I was starting to smile through that, because it is one of those true paradoxes. We hear so many of you humans wishing to be elsewhere, wishing to be back home, shall we say, on another planet, on another star system, in another dimension, in another reality. And yet, if you could see the waiting list for being on Earth, you would truly appreciate and understand what it has taken for you to be here at this time in this physical experience, of how you have desired to be here. But it is interesting when you get here and then you lose that memory, that understanding of how your soul has waited for so long for this experience. It would maybe give you a different perspective of being here, and a different level of appreciation, because you are completely right. It is something that we hear time and time again, that you wish that you were elsewhere, because living a human experience is not easy. The experience that you get from it, the tangibility, the opportunities that you get from living in this physical body is immense. But it does not say that it is easy. It does not mean that it is just a, as you would say, a walk in the park. It comes at a, and I don't like to use this, it comes at a price. I don't mean that in a negative aspect. It's just that we truly understand that it is not easy walking a physical path, living this human experiences, the trials and the challenges, and the denseness of living on Earth. It is not easy, particularly those beings, those aspects of souls that have spent many lifetimes in a higher aspect, in a less denser planet or dimension. It then is a struggle to sometimes walk the actual reality.
Yep.
And even though there is that huge desire of beings to actually be on Earth, the reality between the wanting and knowing that you want to be here and the actual physical living the experience is completely different.
Is there, bearing in mind what you've just said, Yeshua, is there a preparation or a process that those waiting to incarnate on earth have to go through to, I guess, to ensure that they're right, that they can make the most of the experience?
There is a selection process, shall we say, of truly allowing that soul to understand, or that aspect of soul to understand what it is that it wants to experience on earth while being in a physical body. To truly be able to understand that they recognize the challenges that they will face and whether they wish to experience these challenges, whether they truly wish to, at a soul level, want to open themselves up to that experience, to those challenges, and to make sure that they are at soul level committed to that path. Because, as you will be aware, what some aspects of soul have chosen to experience, either in this physical or in physical incarnation or previous incarnations, has not been easy to walk that path. It has been full of challenges, but it is something that the soul wished to experience. And so, yeah, there is many discussions, there is much preparation that is done prior to a soul actually incarnating, actually making that final decision. Because not at soul level, everybody knows it is about the expansion. It is about that there is no harm that can come to that aspect of soul. Aspect of soul just is. It is not something that is created or can be destroyed.
Yep, it just
But
is.
that doesn't mean to say that the experience cannot be very challenging.
So I guess really when we choose to incarnate, there are no mistakes. You know, if you're here, you're meant to be here, and there's a wide-ranging process that one goes through, that aspect of soul goes through to ensure that it's here at the right time, in the right way, to experience whatever it has chosen to experience.
Correct. There are no accidents or coincidences. Every aspect of soul that is currently incarnated in a physical body are meant to be here, and they are meant to be experiencing the life that they are leading.
Okay, brilliant.
There can be a discrepancy between what the actual soul wanted to experience, was choosing to experience, versus the free will of their human self, that can lead to different experiences, shall we say, because every human possesses free will, and that can lead the path down a different route to maybe what was originally intended.
Okay.
This does not mean to say that the path cannot come back to align to that soul path, to that soul purpose, because there will be those gentle nudges along the way. That with the aspect of free will, this can lead anywhere.
So it's essentially the I suppose the ego free will parts of us, we can override the desired experience that soul is actually here to experience. And I suppose we have all personally seen that, haven't we, as we live through our experience. Can I ask you about moving forward, Yeshua? So you will know, obviously, that there's been such awakenings and such expansion and such a greater I suppose, revelation of energy, connection to energy, over the last kind of 20 to 30 years, on a mass scale. So whilst there's always been, well, there have always been people that have had that really deep connection, there's a really kind of mass awareness of the power of soul, the power of energy, that real connection to, I guess, our sovereign self. And I'm assuming that enables more of that energy of soul to actually be lived and to be experienced through us, through the humans, so that we are able to, I guess, enable it more tangibility, more experience, more knowledge, because we're able to embody that more fully.
Yes, that is correct. There has been a huge wave of this awakening of light, shall we say, that has been allowed to flow through the human experience. As you say, for the last several decades, it has reached a tipping point where it is now self-perpetuating, it is self-growing. This more light, this more divinity, this more soul is able to express itself more fully through the human experience because of that knowledge and that understanding, and the awareness very much more of aligning yourself to that soul aspect, to that greater expansive part of yourself. And this is going to, as I say, self-perpetuate and increase as more and more humans awaken to this understanding. And not everybody will awaken to this knowledge and to this understanding, because not every soul has chosen to be here at this time to experience this expansion. They have wished to experience other aspects of the human life, and that is okay. But so many of you have chosen to really fully awake and align to that highest level of consciousness that you can, while still being in a physical body. And many of you have chosen to be here at this time to create this wave, to create this expansion on this planet, to really allow it to ascend to a higher dimension, a higher timeline.
Okay, thank you, Yeshua. And I just have two more questions, if that's okay. I just want to check with your channel that is okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So one of my questions, actually, I think you've already answered, and that was going to be about the planet having a soul itself, and how, or the experience that we're all in as humanity are influencing that. But I think in some respects, your last sentence answered that, in the fact the planet does have soul, and that we are contributing by being here to the vibrational rays of the planet itself, moving into a higher timeline.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so my other question was, from what we've discussed, from what you've shared, obviously as humans, we've been here to experience and to really share the experience of allowing the full range of human emotion. But as we allow soul to be more fully embodied through us, as we are awakening, and so more of us on the planet are allowing ourselves to really actualize and embody soul in a much deeper way, I guess moving forward, we're not necessarily going to be the experience of experiencing the full range of emotions, because as we become more attuned to that divine energy, we are choosing to align ourselves more with those higher frequency emotions. And it's not that we don't feel anger, but we don't let ourselves be perpetually in that state. We work to reflect, to understand, and then to transmute it. So I guess from an experimental perspective, the purpose of incarnating in a human experience potentially is going to change, isn't it?
Yes, that is correct. The more that the planet and the humans that reside on her ascend and move into that higher level of consciousness, there is not the necessity to be able to experience those lower vibration energies, the lower vibration emotions of fear, hate, anger, all of those emotions. There is not that necessity. It can be, the duality can be experienced, but from an observer as opposed to actually living through that experience. It does not need to be taken on by that individual aspect of soul or that individual person. And it does not mean that that human cannot experience that full range of emotion, but by living in that higher level of consciousness, that higher frequency, there is not the desire to remain in, shall we say, the vibration of anger, the vibration of fear. If you move into that level, into that frequency, the desire is to move out of that and to align yourself fully again to that ultimate vibration of love. And so there, as you said, the experience of being on earth or in that particular aspect of human, that will change. You will experience more what you can currently experience on, say, other planets. Not all planets, but other planets that are, say, already ascended. It will become more of an experience like that. It doesn't mean to say that you still can't experience the full range of emotions while being in the human existence. And it doesn't mean to say that the aspect of soul can't choose to reside on other planets that are not ascended and can again be able to access the full range of the emotion, the full spectrum of experience. But at the time of some while to come, there won't be every human that is wishing to ascend, that is wishing to reach those levels of consciousness. So therefore, there are many, many aspects of soul that will continue to experience that full spectrum of human emotion.
Thank you so much, Yeshua, for just your energy, your words, your wisdom, for sharing time with us here today. Could I just ask you, before you depart, to just leave us with any words aligned to soul that you think would support those people listening and watching this session today?
Most definitely. It has been an absolute pleasure and a joy to be able to be here today and to be able to have this conversation. I wish to share with you all that knowing and that understanding of who you are as soul, as that aspect of the divine. You all have that understanding and that awareness, even if you do not know this. The more that you can connect inside yourself, the more that you can connect and spend time in silence. Spend time, even if it's a short while, this does not have to be hours at a time, just a few minutes, connecting inwards, finding that aspect of your soul, yourself, your soul, that is that silence, that is that peace. And the more that you can align and connect with that, the more that that aspect will be able to expand within you, whether you are aware of it or not. But just by spending a few conscious moments on a regular basis, just tuning in to that aspect of silence and align with that sense of peace, that sense of stillness within you. And it all exists in everybody. To quieten the outside noise, to quieten the hustle and bustle of your everyday 3D life. And just to take those few moments, those few breaths. And the more that you can align to that stillness within, the more that you will open that channel to allow the divine, to allow your soul aspect to expand more and more within you.
Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you for your time and your energy, and for simply the joy that you are. Thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you.
And so it's just going to take a short moment for Yeshua to step back and to allow Kirstie's full awareness to come back to the present. And you can see that process now. You can see her breathing, you can see her swallowing. Just bringing her consciousness and her focus back to herself. And always when there's been a really deep blending, there's a need to just take a moment to ground. Usually we have to blink the eyes. The eyes generally are the last things that come back. And there's that need to just have a few sips of water just to make sure one's fully grounded and back. Thank you, my darling.
You're welcome. That seemed amazing what he shared.
Yes, the energy was absolutely beautiful, and there was such a wave from my experience, such a wave of kind of gentle power is the only way that I can describe it as well. So, as always, the insight, the words, the energy, the wisdom that Yeshua shares through you is just sublime, Kirstie. So, my thanks for agreeing to be here and to share this with both the listeners and the watchers today. It's because it's been such a beautiful, such an incredible experience. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. It has been amazing, and on behalf of myself and Yeshua, just thank you for this opportunity. He has loved being able to come through and share his words with you all.
It's been wonderful. So thank you so much. So obviously all of Kirstie's details will be in the show notes, both on the podcast and here on the video as well. I hope that you have just not only received the words that have been spoken within this episode, but also received the energy behind the words as well, because there's been a real tangibility to their energy, to their power and to their presence. And I really hope you allow yourself to not just listen, but also to absorb that, and to also re-listen to anything that was really powerful and really spoke to you, so that you're really allowing that energy to become part of who you are. And it just leaves me to say thank you so much for being here, and to stay being soul confident as always. Thank you.